Want to become a grant writer but think you need a degree or certification? Think again. I am here to tell you that you can dive into grant writing without a fancy degree, and I'll show you what this career is really all about. Stick around because whether you want to be in-house or you want to go freelance and side hustle, I'm going to break down the 7 steps to writing a grant and the future of grant writing with AI. What I'm known for is showing newbies how to write grants and get paid doing it. I've trained over 3,400 grant writers in the last 5 years, and they've won over $1 billion in grants, and they've made more than $6 million in revenue along the way. It's a figure we update every fall, so soon it will be more. But let's start with the basics. What is grant writing anyway? Grants are like loans you don't have to pay back. I hesitate to say free money because you definitely are working for it, but it is a pretty incredible way to get thousands, if not millions of dollars for the charitable causes you most care about. Who can get grants? Most of the time, in the US anyway, grants are for nonprofits. But I want to expand your thinking a bit to see that grants aren't just for animal shelters and food banks. They're also available to towns, cities, tribes, states, and quasi-public entities like airports or downtown economic development districts. The only segment that really gets left out, for the most part, are for-profit businesses. And it's not to say that those don't exist, because we've actually received a small National Science Foundation grant once. But generally, businesses are not direct recipients of grant funding. What does a grant writer do? Grant writers should be really called grant coordinators, but I guess that doesn't sound as nice. But the truth is that actual narrative writing itself is a fraction of what you'll do. Your role is primarily a project manager, cat herder, wrangling information. You're taking loose ideas and you're pulling those together into concrete and fundable plans. Your work will also include building relationships with funders, and depending on the size of your organization, you might be responsible for grant management and reporting once you've won the grant. There's basically 2 main paths into grant writing: in-house or freelance. And I'm going to introduce you to a bonus pathway that you might not know exists. No matter the path you take, each has pros and cons depending on your lifestyle and your goals. The in-house grant writer means you work as a dedicated grant writer for a nonprofit or an organization, typically as an employee. The pros to in-house is that you're in this safer environment to make mistakes, and you get to really go deep with one organization. The cons are often that you have to wear multiple hats, which leads to being overworked in an industry that notoriously underpays. That said, we help our in-house nonprofit grant writers earn at least 20% more than they currently are and get the support they need to thrive. Freelance means you work for multiple nonprofits or clients, and you get to set your own hours, pick your projects, and have the potential to make more money. But you also have to develop more than grant writing skills. You've got to learn business too. And this is what I am most known for helping people get into without prior grant writing experience. The third pathway I want to share with you is that you can have both while deciding what's right for you. So take Caroline, for example. I just met her at our New York City meetup. She made her first $50,000 consulting with a grant writing agency, and then she was offered a dream in-house nonprofit job for an organization she loves. The agency didn't want to lose her, so they gave her an even dreamier job offer. So Caroline now has 2 epic job offers in hand. She ended up taking the in-house nonprofit job, pays her $20,000 more than her last job, and in her first 30 days on the job, she already has $500K of grant applications in the pipeline. Plus, she has a few side hustle clients on the side, so she's killing it financially. But more importantly, she said to me she is an entirely different person than who she was a year ago when she joined us, when her health issues landed her in the hospital and everything in her life felt like it was falling apart. The takeaway from Caroline's story that I want you to kind of detach a bit from is needing certainty, or needing to know exactly how you're going to become a grant writer and what that looks like. And just open yourself to the fact that there are a lot of different ways that can transpire to support your bigger picture life goals. All right, now for the actual topic of how to write grants as a beginner. I'm going to give you a power breakdown of the 7 steps I follow, no matter if it is a complex federal proposal or a simple foundation grant. In the description below, I'll link up a ton of more resources to go deeper here, including a link to my book and our free grant writing class. Step 1 is research funders. Before you can write a grant, you have to know what grant to go after. This is where a focused funding strategy process kicks in that gives you a roadmap of the right grants to pursue for the next 12 to 18 months. Step 2 is project planning. Before we leap into the abyss applying for grants, we got to make sure you're actually ready to write a grant. Do you have a project plan? Do you have a budget, a team, etc.? All that information will be needed, and it's why I always start any new client or project off by completing my project planning toolkit. Step 3 is to rock your kickoff. How you start a grant application will set the tone for the entire project. As a grant writer, you rely on others to give you information, and so the quality of your kickoff and the subsequent project managing will dictate if you have a really fun time writing grants or you feel like you're pulling teeth, staying up to that 11th hour getting everything done. Recognize the power of project management. Step 4 is complete your budget. Not a numbers person? Well, hey, you're about to become one because your grant budget impacts literally every other aspect of your grant application. So it is imperative to lock that sucker down and get your budget dialed early on. You can download my free budget template below or grab a copy of it alongside with the instructions we have inside the free grant writing class. Step 5 is prep your key attachments. Every proposal requires assembling some amount of documents like letters of support, a budget narrative, maybe your 501c3 documentation, etc. You're going to make a list and check it twice for what attachments are required to submit. Step 6 is writing your narrative. See, I told you, the grant writing is actually a small part of what you do. This is where things are changing the fastest with AI, and I'm going to tell you all about that next. Step 7. Quality control and submit. Always, 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 always have someone review your work before you submit, especially for those larger and more complex proposals. One of my favorite things to do is actually send the draft to the funder and say, hey, do you have any other feedback? So now let's talk about the future of grant writing with AI. I published my first book in 2019. This was pre-pandemic. In 2021, I published the second edition of the book, and this was in the thick of the pandemic, Black Lives Matter, and just a big social justice shift happening within the world of grants. Fast forward 2 more years to 2023, I record my audiobook for Audible. Now I needed to talk about AI as it was rapidly coming onto the screen. Now, recording this in 2025, we're in the thick of a massive upheaval with the federal grant scene under the Trump administration, and grant writers are back at the drawing board. I share that to say that while grants have been around since literally the late 1800s in the United States anyway, they're not going anywhere. They shift. They evolve. They require a modern grant writer to be continually invested in their education and a peer support system. But I would be remiss to not talk about grant writing for beginners without talking about AI. Does this mean you're not really going to be needed? Should you get into this? What about data privacy and security? How about the environmental costs? What about your creativity, authenticity, etc.? I'm going to link up a training on AI in the description below. It goes way deeper on all of those topics, but here's the high-level points I need you to consider. The question is not whether AI is going to change grant writing. It already has. The question is, are you going to be ahead of the curve, or are you going to be scrambling to catch up? And I don't just mean as a grant writer. I mean as a professional in any freaking industry. The window to learn comfortably how to integrate AI into how you think and you work, it's getting shorter. So I urge you to take it seriously and really lean into developing your skills. AI is not here to replace your expertise. You still have to know what makes a great grant, but you do need to build funder relationships. You are still needed to make the critical thinking decisions on what grants to go after. You're needed tremendously. But now you can focus on those high leverage activities that only you can do instead of getting so buried in the busy work that frankly grant writing can take a lot of. So that's all I'm going to say on that for now. I want you to check out our AI Besties grant writing course. It'll take you from a dabbler in AI to pro in 30 days or less. What should you do next if you're serious about getting into grant writing? Number 1, get trained. Okay, look for courses or certifications. We've got the Global Grant Writing Collective, but build your skills up. You cannot afford to learn the slow DIY route. It's going to cost you thousands of dollars in missed opportunities and reputation with funders if you don't know what you're doing. 2, join a community, whether it's online or it's in person. Community of peers and advanced expertise has just honestly never been more important. Hands down, we have the finest community of 600 plus grant writers, and we will actually be gathering in Bend, Oregon soon for our first ever grant writing conference of this size. Come join us. Number 3 is GoPro. I love this quote from George Hollis. He's the head coach of the Chicago Bears. He said, "Nobody who ever gave their best regretted it." Channel that. If you want to write grants, then get freaking awesome at it. Doing so will create more opportunities and fulfillment than you can imagine. Wowie Maui, we had a lot to cover today. Let's recap. You learned what grant writing is and what it takes to do it. Ways to be a grant writer. And if you're new to this and want to get into it, check out the training specifically below on how to break into this field. 3, the 7 essential steps to writing a grant. And 4, the role of AI and how it's changing the future of grant writing. I don't think I've ever made a video that sent you in so many different directions in terms of like free resources to check out. So my advice is just slow down, take your time, work your way through the links that are in the description below, because I know I just threw a lot at you. If you're serious about becoming a grant writing unicorn, and I'd love to personally get to know you and support you in your journey inside the Grant Writing Collective. It's our online coaching, coursework, and community program. And with that, until next time.